Girl, fix your crown. Wipe your tears, shake off the shame. You are not who you used to be. I know the enemy keeps trying to drag you back into old patterns, old labels, old versions of yourself. But I came to remind you that God has already upgraded your identity. You've been walking around with your head down, forgetting the royalty you carry, but heaven never forgot. You're still chosen. You're still anointed. You're still worthy. So this is your wake-up call, not to prove anything to the world, but to remember what God already said about you. You're not the mistakes you made. You're not the pain you survived. You are a daughter of the King, and it's time to walk like it. This isn't just about healing, it's about rising. It's about reclaiming your voice, your worth, and your crown. Let's talk about how to stand tall again. Let's go. Stop apologizing for outgrowing the version of you that was built for survival. There was a time when you made choices based on pain instead of purpose, when your decisions were driven by fear rather than faith, and when your silence was more about self-protection than peace. That version of you was necessary for a season. She got you through some dark days. She carried burdens no one else saw. She showed up even when her heart was heavy. She made sure you kept breathing when quitting felt easier. But now you're evolving. Now you're healing. Now you're hearing God speak life over you in ways that make that old version of you feel foreign. And yet, even as you grow, you keep feeling the pressure to apologize for no longer fitting in rooms, relationships, and roles that were only meant to hold you temporarily. But let me remind you, outgrowing isn't betrayal, it's transformation. Growth requires you to step into uncomfortable places. It demands that you release what once felt familiar and embrace what feels divine. You can't keep playing small to comfort those who only know the smaller version of you. You can't keep walking with your head down when God is calling you to rise. You can't keep seeking approval from people who were only assigned to your past, not your destiny. Survival mode you was resilient, but healed you is wise. Survival mode you learned how to fight, but whole you is learning how to rest. You don't have to keep proving your strength by staying in struggle. Sometimes strength looks like surrender. Sometimes healing looks like letting go of old habits, outdated expectations, and even people who can't celebrate your growth without feeling insecure. Apologizing for outgrowing that old version of you is like mourning a chapter that already had its ending. That woman did her job. She held it together when everything around you was falling apart. She got up when she didn't want to. She tolerated what you thought you needed to. She endured the storm so you could stand in this new season. But now that you're in a place of healing, of clarity, of God-given vision, you don't owe anyone an explanation for who you no longer are. You don't have to downplay your growth to make others comfortable. You don't have to dim your light to fit back into spaces God delivered you from. You don't have to keep revisiting the pain to prove you've come a long way. Your transformation is evidence enough. When you begin to walk in your healing, it shifts everything. Your language changes, your posture changes, your standards shift. And that can be intimidating to people who only felt safe around your brokenness. Some people were only loyal to the version of you that needed rescuing. They were comfortable when you were uncertain, when you were quiet, when you questioned your worth. But now that you're rising, now that you found your voice, now that you're embracing your identity in Christ, they don't know how to relate to you. That's not your problem to fix. That's your growth to protect. You are not responsible for staying small so other people don't feel insecure. You are not required to explain your glow up to people who benefited from your dimness. And you are not obligated to return to emotional poverty just to prove your loyalty to people who couldn't handle your abundance. Outgrowing old patterns, relationships, and mindsets is part of your spiritual maturity. God didn't bring you this far to have you shrink back. He didn't heal you for you to play safe. He didn't anoint you for you to keep apologizing every time you make someone uncomfortable by being whole. You have to learn how to own your growth without guilt. You have to learn how to step into your next without second guessing whether you're leaving someone behind. If they're meant to be in your future, they'll grow too. But if they can't handle your healing, they were never sent to walk with you in your wholeness. You've spent enough time apologizing for taking up space, for being too loud, for wanting more, for breaking cycles, for speaking truth, for setting boundaries. That apology is canceled. The woman you're becoming deserves your full presence. She deserves your loyalty. She deserves your celebration. She deserves your yes, even if others don't understand it. And she's not waiting for approval to emerge. She's already inside of you. She's the one who whispers, "You're more than this," in the silence. She's the one who no longer tolerates being mistreated. She's the one who stands taller every time you choose healing over history. She's the one who wears the scars like trophies, not wounds. And she's the one who refuses to let guilt keep you tied to places you've already outgrown. Stop apologizing for her. Start honoring her. Start protecting her. Start loving her with the same compassion you gave to everyone else. You are not who you used to be, and that is a miracle. That is grace in motion. That is what happens when you surrender your survival story to the God who turns ashes into beauty. And now that you're walking into that beauty, it's time to stop explaining, stop shrinking, stop apologizing, fix your crown, and keep moving forward, because the only ones who can't handle your growth are the ones who were never meant to walk with your healed self in the first place. You don't owe an apology for healing. You owe God your praise. And you owe yourself the freedom to live fully as the woman you become, not the one you had to be just to make it through. Your crown was never lost. It was just buried under other people's opinions. Somewhere along the way, their words became louder than God's truth. Somewhere along the way, their expectations started shaping your identity more than your Creator's intention. You didn't lose your value, you just stopped seeing it because you started seeing yourself through the lens of people who were never qualified to define you. Every time someone said you were too much, not enough, too loud, too quiet, too emotional, too ambitious, too complicated, you believed a little less in who God created you to be. And instead of wearing your crown with confidence, you tucked it away to survive. You adapted to fit in. You dimmed your light to make others comfortable. You let shame dress you when grace was always meant to clothe you. But the crown never left. It was always there, covered in dust, hidden beneath self-doubt, waiting for the moment you'd remember who you really are. The enemy's greatest tactic isn't always destruction, it's distortion. If he can't take your calling, he'll try to convince you it doesn't exist. If he can't steal your voice, he'll try to drown it in the noise of others. He'll use rejection to make you think you're unlovable. He'll use betrayal to make you believe you're replaceable. He'll use failure to whisper that you're disqualified. But none of that is true. Your crown isn't earned by perfection, it's secured by identity. And identity is not built on people's opinions, it's rooted in God's word. Before anyone labeled you, God already named you. Before you ever heard you're too much, he said you were fearfully and wonderfully made. Before you ever experienced rejection, he called you chosen. People's opinions can't cancel what heaven confirmed, but they can distract you from it if you're not careful. And if you spend too long letting their voices shape your self-worth, you'll start living beneath your calling. You'll shrink when you're supposed to shine. You'll settle when you're called to soar. You'll accept relationships, jobs, environments, and friendships that dishonor your worth just to prove you're good enough, when God already said you were. But what if you stopped chasing their approval? What if you stopped waiting for their validation? What if you stopped letting temporary opinions silence eternal truth? Because the moment you stopped handing people your crown is the moment you remember it was never theirs to give or take. You don't need permission to walk in your identity. You don't need applause to prove your anointing. You don't need consensus to confirm your calling. Some of the people who criticized you were just uncomfortable with your reflection of something they were too afraid to become. Your light reminded them of their shadows. Your voice challenged their silence. Your healing threatened their control. And instead of rising with you, they tried to reduce you. But reducing yourself to fit into their comfort zone only delays your destiny. You can't let their opinions become your narrative. You can't keep bowing to the pressure of being who they want while ignoring who God called. You have to dust off that crown. You have to pick it back up. You have to remember that even in your lowest moments, you were still royalty. That crown represents your authority in Christ. It's a reminder that you were born with purpose, that you carry divine worth, that you have spiritual inheritance, that you walk in power, not performance. And you don't have to earn it. It's already yours. You just have to claim it. You just have to wear it boldly. Even when your past tries to shame you. Even when your surroundings don't reflect what God spoke over you. Even when people try to minimize you. The truth is, you don't need them to understand you to be obedient. You don't need them to agree with your journey to stay faithful. And you definitely don't need to keep playing small so they can feel big. Fix your crown and take your place. Not because you're better than them, but because you're finally done believing you're less. Some people will never see your crown because they're too distracted by your process. They'll focus on your flaws, your failures, your struggles. But God sees the full picture. He knows the oil that came with the fight. He knows the prayers you prayed in silence. He knows the nights you cried yourself to sleep while still showing up with a smile. And He never took your crown away, not once. Even when you questioned your worth, even when you made mistakes, even when you forgot who you were, your crown stayed in place, waiting for you to lift your head and recognize it again. Because grace doesn't remove your authority, it restores it. Mercy doesn't revoke your identity, it reminds you of it. So girl, fix your crown, not because of how they see you, but because of how heaven sees you. Not because you have it all together, but because God is holding it all together for you. Not because you never doubted, but because you decided to believe again. Wear that crown through the process, through the healing, through the elevation, through the moments when your confidence wavers, through the places where your past tries to pull you back. Wear it until it becomes natural again, until you stop questioning if you're worthy, until you stop trying to earn what's already yours, until the mirror reflects the masterpiece God always knew you were. You're not who you used to be. You're not what they said. You're not the sum of your mistakes. You are royalty, chosen, called, crowned. And nothing anyone thinks can ever change that truth. Transformation requires you to forgive the woman you used to be. Not just tolerate her or forget her, but truly forgive her. The one who didn't know any better. The one who stayed too long in places she had outgrown. The one who silenced herself to keep peace. The one who poured into everyone else and left herself empty. The one who tried to fix broken people as if healing them would finally heal her. You have to forgive her for the decisions she made out of fear, out of loneliness, out of survival. Because she was doing the best she could with what she had, with the tools she was given, with the understanding she carried at the time. Transformation cannot happen in a heart still held hostage by regret. You cannot become all that God has called you to be if you're still punishing yourself for who you used to be. Forgiveness is what frees you from shame. It's what allows you to embrace growth without guilt. You cannot walk into your healing and keep hating the version of you that needed it. She was part of the process. She had to show up so that the woman you are now could rise. And for too long, you've been trying to step into newness while dragging old guilt. You've been growing but still grieving over the years you feel you wasted. You've been evolving but still shaming yourself for not waking up sooner. But transformation doesn't erase the past, it redeems it. God doesn't throw away your story, He weaves it. He uses every wrong turn, every broken choice, every messy chapter and turns it into a testimony. But you have to stop replaying the mistakes like a punishment. You have to stop measuring your growth by the wounds of yesterday. You have to stop letting guilt narrate your journey. The woman you used to be, she's not your enemy. She's the foundation. She's the soil your healing grew out of. And if you don't forgive her, you keep trying to disown her. You'll create distance between the old you and the new you instead of integration. And healing isn't about pretending she never existed. It's about honoring her journey while embracing who you've become. You don't have to be ashamed of the time it took. You don't have to hide the detours. You don't have to explain why you stayed, why you tolerated, why you didn't know sooner. What matters is that you know now, that you're moving now, that you've decided from this point forward to stop punishing yourself for needing grace. Grace is not weakness. It's God's way of making sure your past doesn't disqualify your future. Forgiving the woman you used to be allows you to speak life over her instead of judgment, to say thank you for surviving, to say you didn't fail, you were learning, to say you didn't settle because you were weak, you just didn't yet know how strong you were. That forgiveness is what allows you to stop fighting her and start loving her, because until you love her, you'll keep letting parts of her creep into your now. You'll keep over-apologizing. You'll keep self-sabotaging. You'll keep doubting your worth. But once you say, I forgive her, you free yourself to step fully into who you are now without guilt holding you back. You begin to believe that you're allowed to be powerful. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to grow beyond who you were without needing anyone's permission. Transformation isn't instant. It's layered, it's holy, it's uncomfortable, and it demands grace for every version of yourself. You'll have moments where you still think like the old you, where fear creeps in, where insecurity whispers, where shame tries to remind you of what you did. But transformation says, yes, I did that, but I'm not that. It says, yes, I lived there, but I've moved. And every time you choose forgiveness over shame, you reinforce your freedom. Every time you choose grace over guilt, you break another chain. Every time you bless the woman you were instead of curse her, you make room for more healing. You're not late. You're not behind. You're not too broken. You're right on time for the woman God is forming in you. And that woman can only rise if you let the old one rest. Let her rest in peace, in gratitude, in honor. She served her purpose. She kept you alive long enough for healing to find you. And now it's your turn to stop carrying her regrets and start carrying her lessons, to stop hiding from her past and start building from her wisdom, to stop grieving who you were and start celebrating who you're becoming. Transformation begins when you stop making the old you the villain and start seeing her as the warrior she was. She fought battles with limited tools. She showed up when she had every reason to give up. She stayed in the fight when her heart was bleeding. And maybe she didn't get it all right, but she handed the baton to you. And now you get to run your leg of the race with healing, with clarity, with purpose. So stop replaying what she did. Start rejoicing over what she survived. Start speaking to her with the same kindness you give to others, because the same grace that covers your now covers your past. The same love God has for your future is the love he had for your former self. And the moment you let that truth settle deep into your soul is the moment you'll stop hiding, stop hustling for worth, and start walking with your crown fixed, your heart whole, and your transformation fully embraced. God didn't heal you for you to shrink. He healed you to shine. He didn't break chains just so you could return to cages. He didn't restore your voice just so you could whisper when he called you to declare. The healing that God gave you is not something to keep hidden. It's something to walk in, something to live boldly through, something to let the world see, not to impress them, but to glorify him. Shrinking may feel familiar, even safe, but it contradicts the very purpose of your breakthrough. You weren't rescued just to remain quiet about the deliverance. You weren't rebuilt just to blend in. You were healed to walk with power. You were restored to lead others out. You were renewed to speak what once silenced you. And every time you choose to shrink instead of shine, you're dimming the light God lit inside of you for the world to see. For too long, you made your healing small so others wouldn't feel convicted by your freedom. You played down your growth to remain relatable to people still committed to their bondage. You kept parts of your story hidden because you feared what they might say. But God didn't do all of this in you for you to hide it. He brought you through the fire so others could see what a survivor looks like. He led you out of that valley, not just for your victory, but to be a witness. Every scar is a sign that he still saves. Every breakthrough is a reminder that grace still works. Every shift in your life is evidence that you're walking in a divine assignment, and assignments were never meant to be private. Shrinking doesn't protect you. It limits you. It puts boundaries around your God-given influence. It makes you second-guess your purpose. It whispers lies that say, don't be too loud. Don't be too confident. Don't stand out too much. But the enemy only tells you to hide what heaven is trying to highlight. You've been commissioned to carry a light, to reflect God's glory, to tell your truth without shame. And yet every time you try to squeeze your greatness into spaces that were never designed for it, you feel the tension. That discomfort you keep experiencing is the consequence of playing small. It's the resistance that happens when you try to fit an elevated soul into an old shell. God's healing doesn't come with a return ticket to where he found you. It comes with a launch pad to who he's created you to be. There's a part of you that still feels loyal to the woman you used to be, the one who stayed quiet, who played it safe, who didn't take up space. But Healed You is different. Healed You walks differently, speaks differently, believes differently. Healed You sets boundaries. Healed You says no without guilt. Healed You chooses peace over performance. And not everyone can handle that version of you. Not everyone will understand the cost of your healing. Some will call you arrogant when you're just confident. Some will say you've changed, because you have. And that change was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to be a declaration, a living, breathing testimony of God's redemptive power. He didn't bring you this far for you to keep apologizing for the glow up. He didn't restore your mind so you could keep questioning your worth. He didn't heal your heart just for you to give it back to broken people. He wants you to walk with boldness, to pray with authority, to lead with fire, to love without fear. Your healing isn't just about you, it's about the people attached to your voice, your vision, your obedience. There are women who will find their freedom in your testimony. There are hearts waiting for your courage to show them what's possible. There are broken souls watching your walk, wondering if they'll ever get back up too. And when you choose to shine, you give them permission to do the same. Stop watering down your purpose to make insecure people comfortable. Stop editing your story so that no one gets offended by your journey. Stop withholding your voice just because it's louder than it used to be. You are not who you were, and you shouldn't have to act like her to be accepted. You've grown. You've healed. You've seen God move in your life in ways that some people wouldn't even believe. And now, your job is to shine, to stand, to show up, not in pride, but in power, not for attention, but for assignment. You are walking proof that healing is possible, that God is real, that freedom is available. And that proof is not meant to be tucked away. It's meant to light up dark places. There's someone who needs to hear how you made it. Someone who needs to know that healing isn't reserved for the perfect, that grace doesn't run out, that freedom doesn't have an expiration date. And they won't hear it if you keep shrinking, if you keep quiet, if you keep treating your healing like a secret. Let them see the transformation. Let them witness the restoration. Let them feel the presence of God through your life. Because every time you choose to shine, heaven gets the glory. And every time you dim your light out of fear, the enemy wins a battle he should have never been allowed to fight. You are the light of the world, a city set on a hill, a daughter of the King. And nothing about that identity calls for shrinking. You weren't healed to survive in silence. You were healed to shine in strength. You weren't restored to return to who you used to be. You were restored to rise into everything you were meant to become. So let the world see the healed you, the bold you, the radiant you. Let them see the power of God made manifest in your voice, your walk, your presence. Because the healed you doesn't shrink, she shines. And she does it without apology. Fixing your crown means walking in identity, not insecurity. It means recognizing that what God placed on you is not fragile, it's fortified. Your identity is not something the world gave you, so it's not something the world can take away. You don't have to keep checking in with people to confirm what heaven already called you. You don't need their applause, their approval, or their agreement to walk like the daughter of the king you were born to be. But the truth is, insecurity has had a loud voice in your life for too long. It's whispered lies about your worth. It's made you question your calling. It's kept you from raising your hand, stepping up, speaking out, and standing tall. And somewhere along the way, you confused humility with hiding. But fixing your crown doesn't mean being arrogant. It means being aligned. Aligned with the truth of who God says you are, not the fear of who you think you're not. Every time you let insecurity lead, you bend your crown. You lower your standards. You second guess your decisions. You shrink in rooms you were designed to stand in. You downplay your brilliance. You walk like a servant when God has called you to reign. You wear your wounds like identity, forgetting that healing is already yours. But fixing your crown is an act of spiritual rebellion against every lie the enemy ever told you about your value. It's not just a moment of encouragement, it's a lifestyle of alignment. It's waking up every day and deciding that you will no longer carry the labels that trauma, people, or culture placed on you. It's saying, I'm not what happened to me. I'm not what I lost. I'm not what they said. I'm what God called. And when you start living from that place, everything about you begins to shift. Your crown may have tilted because life hit hard. Maybe rejection tried to knock it off. Maybe heartbreak made you feel unworthy of wearing it. Maybe failure made you believe you were disqualified. But even if your crown slipped, it never left your head. Even if you forgot it was there, heaven didn't. And now God is calling you to stop mourning who you used to be and start walking boldly in who He created you to be. Fixing your crown is about remembering that you're already enough. Not because of what you do, but because of whose you are. You were chosen before you were ever broken. You were set apart before you ever messed up. You were called queen long before the world gave you a reason to doubt it. And you don't have to perform to prove it. You just have to believe it and begin to live like you know it. Walking in identity means you stop letting temporary emotions dictate your eternal value. It means you stop editing your personality to be more palatable. It means you stop begging for seats at tables God never told you to sit at. Fixing your crown means saying no to people-pleasing, to settling, to self-sabotage. It means looking in the mirror and speaking life to the reflection that's still healing. It means declaring, I'm still growing, but I'm still crowned. It's choosing confidence over comfort. It's walking into rooms you once felt unworthy of and reminding yourself that you belong. It's answering your calling even when your hands are still trembling. It's forgiving yourself for the years you lived beneath your worth. Because walking in identity is not about perfection. It's about permission. Permission to be powerful, permission to be seen, permission to take up space as the healed, whole, chosen woman that you are. Some people won't understand your crown. That's okay. It's not for them. It's for the purpose that's inside of you. And when you fix your crown, it may make others uncomfortable, especially those who liked you better broken. They were more comfortable when you were insecure, when you played small, when you needed their validation. But now that you've remembered who you are, now that you're no longer looking for acceptance but walking in assignment, things are going to change. Not everyone can go with you where God is taking you. Fixing your crown means releasing people who prefer the version of you that didn't know her worth. It means no longer entertaining conversations that diminish your voice. It means walking with clarity, with purpose, and with the awareness that you are walking in divine authority, not because of your past, but in spite of it. Your crown isn't made of perfection, it's made of perseverance. It's made of grace, forged in fire, sealed in the spirit. It has survived storms, betrayal, doubt, and delay, but it's still here, you're still here. And now that you've remembered who you are, you can stop living in fear. You can stop apologizing for being gifted, for being chosen, for being called. You don't have to ask for permission to be what God created. You don't have to tone it down so others feel okay. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to lead, to disrupt, to change atmospheres. Fixing your crown means owning that without apology, without explanation, and without shrinking. You've spent enough time in the shadows. Now it's your season to rise, to reign, to reflect the glory of the God who never forgot who you were, even when you did. So hold your head high, straighten your back, walk in the room like you belong because you do. Not because the world said so, but because heaven already did.